Hi guys! So we are back to read our story, and just like I said yesterday, I love this story. It's my favorite one. So I hope you enjoyed it too when you listened to it yesterday. Alright, the title of our story is AaOM and Officer Mike, Police Partners. And our story was written by Joan Plummer Russell, and the photographs were taken by Chris Turner Sonnenberg. As we read, think about the question, what are some benefits of dogs interacting with people? Good question. It's very early in the morning. Everyone in the house is still asleep. A large black and tan German Shepherd is lying on the floor by Officer Mike's bed. The alarm rings. Officer Mike reaches down to pet his dog, AaOM. AaOM is a police dog, also known as a canine officer. When Officer Mike puts on his uniform with a silver badge on his chest, AaOM jumps up, ready to have his wide black leather collar with a police badge on it slipped over his head. He knows this will be a work day. Work and play. Officer Mike and AaOM are partners. They work together. They practice together. They play together. AaOM, with his powerful nose, can do many things Officer Mike cannot. He can sniff and find lost children. He can sniff and find lost things. Police dogs are very strong and well trained. They have to be ready to go anywhere when they are needed. They can be very fierce when they're helping to catch criminals. They can run faster than any human being. But when police dogs are not working, they're gentle pets that like to have their tummies scratched. AaOM's most important jobs are to help and to protect his partner, Officer Mike. Together, AaOM and Officer Mike patrol in all kinds of weather. Some weeks they patrol from early morning until dinner time. Some weeks they sleep in the daytime and they work all night. AaOM is always eager to jump into the back of the police car. On duty. Officer Mike's car is different from other police cars. There is no back seat. The floor is flat and covered with carpet for AaOM to lie on. There's a water bowl built into the floor, and a small fan keeps AaOM cool in the summer. Screens cover the windows so no one can reach in and pet him. When AaOM is on duty, he's not allowed to play. Officer Mike sits in the driver's seat, but AaOM will not let anyone else sit in the front until Officer Mike tells AaOM it's okay. AaOM knows that one of his jobs is to protect the police car. When Officer Mike leaves the car, he either opens the front window for AaOM to jump through or uses a remote control to open the back door when he needs AaOM's help. Time for a break. When AaOM and Officer Mike have been in the police car for a few hours, AaOM will need to take a break. AaOM pushes his head against his partner's head to let him know. Officer Mike parks the cruiser as soon as he can and says to AaOM, "Go be a dog." AaOM knows he'll also have time to explore a little and maybe chase a tennis ball while they're stopped. Doesn't it seem like all dogs love tennis balls? Signals and commands. Officer Mike can talk to AaOM in different ways. One way is to use hand and arm signals. When Mike's hand is outstretched, it means stay. When Mike's arm is raised, it means sit. When his hand is flat, it means down. AaOM is very loyal to Officer Mike and wants to obey him. He likes to hear the words, "Good dog." He tries to please his partner all the time. AaOM can understand short commands like "find him" or "stop him" and "no barking." AaOM can also understand some commands in Czech, the language spoken where he was born and where he began his training as a police dog. So he had to go through a lot of training. Canine training. AaOM's training never ends. Several times a month, AaOM and Officer Mike train with other officers and their canine partners. One exercise the police dogs do is to run through an obstacle course. The dogs practice getting over, under, around, and through difficult spots. AaOM had to learn how to walk up and down very steep, open grading, the kind you often see on city streets. See like those things and those? At first, he spread his paws to help keep his balance. His legs began to quiver and he whined a frightened cry. He had to practice over and over. Officer Mike kept saying, "Good boy, you can do it." Arrow was brave and trusted his partner, but he still does not like open gratings or steep stairs. But that's what being brave is even when you don't like something or you're a little bit afraid of it, you can still do it. Arrow's sense of smell. Canines have very powerful noses, hundreds of times more powerful than human noses. That's why one of Arrow's most helpful talents on the police force is his ability to find things by smell. When children play hide and seek, they may think they're well hidden. Their dog can find them right away. The same is true when a child is lost or wanders away from home. Arrow can find the child by using his sense of smell. Each person has a scent that is different from everyone else's scent. Even twins do not smell the same. A person's unique smell comes from the food he or she eats, the soap and shampoo he or she uses, the clothes he or she wears, and the place he or she lives. So everyone has a very, very definite scent that's just you, and it's made up of all of those things. And the dogs use their powerful noses to sniff those scents and find you. At the vet's, Arrow goes to Dr. Morse, a veterinarian, for regular checkups. Arrow must lie still on a table while the doctor examines him. Once, Arrow had a small infection on his neck. Dr. Morse gave him some medicine so he would get better. Because a police dog works so hard and has such an important job, he needs to be healthy. At the end of the checkup, Dr. Morse lifts Arrow to the floor, pets him, and says, "Good dog." Visiting in the community. Nurses and teachers often write to the chief of police to ask if Arrow can visit children in their hospital or school. Arrow likes children and is always gentle with them. He's even gentler when visiting a sick child. He lies down, staying very still and quiet so the child won't be afraid of him. When Officer Mike and Arrow visit schools, Arrow rests on the